Hey there, I'm Jonathan Atwell. Welcome to CrossRoads Church. In this video, this is our weekly Sunday review. I'm going to take a few minutes to talk about what took place at Crossroads over this past weekend. Say thanks to a whole bunch of people. This has been a really busy weekend here at CrossRoads Church. Then I am going to tell you a little bit about what we talked about yesterday and kind of give you an overview of some things that took place in our service. And then we'll talk about next week's service and some upcoming events. So thank you for being here with us. Let's go ahead and get started. Well, first of all, we've got several big events that took place this past weekend. December 10th was this past Sunday, and we kind of officially kicked off the holiday season here at Crossroads. It began Friday night. We have one of our big events of the year on pretty close to one of the first couple weekends each December. And this year, our Ladies Ornament Exchange was this past Friday night, and the ladies had a blast. There were about 40 ladies there. I'm serious. Ladies, if you've not been a part of our Ladies Ornament Exchange, I really encourage you not to miss it next year. So that was Friday night. We had about 40 ladies. They had a blast. They played a little gift exchange game together. They ate a lot of fun holiday food and snacks. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Now, I want to say some special thanks to people. Of course, to all of you who came, thank you for being a part of that. It wouldn't be all that much fun if all of you didn't come. I want to say thank you also to the people who helped put it together, Bobby Jackson and Mandy Cloud and Tracy Cottle, and then, of course, my wife Shelley as well. Thank you, all you ladies, for being a part of that and making things come together. And then men also, during our Ladies Ornament Exchange, our men got together at the home of Rich Stolniker, and we hung out and had dinner together. And there were a handful of guys. Guys, we missed a bunch of you whose wives were at the Ornament Exchange, but we had a good time. So thank you guys for being a part of that. Thank you, Rich, for taking care of the meat for the dinner. There was a lot of smoked chicken and a lot of brisket there. It was awesome. So thank you so much, Rich, for taking care of that for us. We had a really good time. It was a really fun time to hang out while our wives were doing ornament exchange stuff. And then also, yesterday, Sunday, was a big day for us. It was our annual kids' Christmas event. It was called Cookies with Santa. Really what we do is we just get together after church, and Santa shows up after our 11 a.m. service. And we had a really good time with that. Thank you to Prince Charming Photography for providing the photo booth to take the pictures with Santa and printing pictures for each of us. And we really appreciate that. And then also thank you for Valerie DeMore, who put that event together, and Johanna Stucker, who was the elf who was cheering things on. So thank you, ladies, for being a part of that. And thank you, Bob, for getting a hold of Santa for us. And of course, Santa, thank you for coming. Wouldn't have been Cookies with Santa without you. We had a really good time. And thank you so much for being a part of that. Thank you to Bethany and to Eli, who read our Christmas stories there on each side of Santa. So it was a lot of fun. Thank you guys so much for being a part of that. And we appreciate you coming, and we want to encourage you to be a part of it next year. These are annual events that have become traditions here at Crossroads Church. And so thank you all for being a part of that and making this a special season for us. And if you're, again, we would invite you to come be a part of that, and would like you to be a part as well. And then yesterday or Sunday, as we got together during our service, we're talking through John's perspective on Christmas from the Gospel of John. In John chapter 1, John gives us a picture of who Jesus is, and he begins with the eternal pre-incarnate Christ. And tells us about what he was like. And this past week, we talked about John 1, verses 3 through 9. And the central idea of the message this week was Christ is the light we need to see God. How do we see God? And here, John outlines some really neat things. He talks about creation and how Jesus was part of creation. Christ was part of creation. And that everything that was made by God the Father was made through him. And we talked about, though, that we don't see God in creation, we see God through creation. Creation can point us to Jesus, but it doesn't, and to God and to salvation, but we have to look through that creation to see our God. And then we talked about that Christ is the light that shows us God. that we don't see a light within us. John, when he was writing these opening passages from the Gospel of John, he was writing in opposition to an idea called Gnosticism. And Gnosticism teaches that physical is bad and spiritual is good, and inside each of our bad physical bodies is this little trapped piece of goodness, and that isn't at all. And if we'll look inside of ourselves, then we'll find God, we'll find this ultimate reality, and that's not what the Bible teaches. The Bible teaches that physical is not necessarily bad because God created physical. What is bad is sin, and sin has wrecked the physical world we now live in. And so when we talk about what what God says is, he says physical is not necessarily bad, sin is, and Christ is the light from outside of us, not inside of us, but outside of us, who brings us to God the Father. And so we can't look inside ourselves, we have to look outside of ourselves to find God. We have to look where, and that's where John goes next, is he tells us that, he speaks of John the Baptist, and he says that John the Baptist came to be the one who pointed people to Christ. And then in John chapter 5, as we look to understand that better, Jesus talks about three witnesses. He says these three witnesses are John the Baptist, three witnesses to who he is, are John the Baptist, are the works he was doing, which all of the works that Jesus did were works that the Old Testament prophets had said the Christ would do when he came, the Messiah. And then the third is the Scriptures, is the third witness that the Father has given us. And so we talked about that we look to the witnesses to point us to Christ. And so we don't look inside of us to see Jesus. We look to God's Word, the Bible, and in that Word we look to see what Jesus was like, because Jesus is the revelation of God to us. And so Christ is the light. We need to see God. And we talked this past Sunday about how that all works. And so, I challenge you to think about how sometimes the gifts God gives us can become our gods. Just as when the Israelites were being led out of Egypt, they built a cow from the gold they'd been given by the Egyptians when they left, and they made a god that was not God at all. They made an idol that was meant to represent their God, and that God was an idol, and God judged them for that. We need to be careful with the gifts God gives us so they don't become our gods. We also talked about how it's easy for people to look inside themselves and think they see God there, but what the Bible tells us is we don't see God when we look inside of ourselves. We have to look outside of ourselves, specifically to the Old and New Testament of the Bible, to see Jesus. And those places in John 5, Jesus says, point not to themselves for salvation, but to Jesus himself for salvation. We look to God who is outside of us, and we find that God by looking to Jesus in Scripture. This next Sunday, we're going to continue to take a look at the book of John, at John's version of the Christmas story. And we're going to take a look at verses 9 through 13 as we talk about why sometimes we reject Christ and then how we become God's children. So I want to invite you, come be a part this Sunday. We get together at 9:30 and 11 a.m. every Sunday at CrossRoads Church at 6331 Boulevard 26, Suite 250 in North Richland Hills, Texas. I want to invite you to be a part of that as we talk about this coming Sunday. And then some upcoming events. We are right now taking a hiatus from our Wednesday night activities with our teenagers during this Christmas season. And we'll start that back up when this Christmas season is over. So for the next couple weeks, teenagers, we won't be getting together on Wednesday nights. And then also, kind of another big highlight of our Christmas season is our Christmas Eve service. And I want to invite you to be a part of that. It has all the elements of a Christmas Eve service. We'll read the Christmas story from the Bible together. And we'll sing Christmas carols, and then we will. I'll speak for a few minutes, a very few minutes, about what Christmas is all about. That service is about a total of 45 minutes, and our kids are a part of it, and we do all the candle lighting and all that kind of stuff. And so, I want to invite you to come be a part of that as well. That is going to be Christmas Eve, December 24th, Sunday at 5:30 p.m. And I just want to invite you to come be a part of that. Well, thank you for taking a few minutes to watch this video today. I hope you remembered some things we talked about yesterday, or maybe I sparked some questions in your mind about who Jesus is, or who God is, or what Crossroads is about, or what's important to us. I want to invite you. Join the discussion. If you've got questions, let us know. I'd love for you to comment on this video and let me know what's going through your mind about our church or about what we believe about God, I'd love to dialogue with you about that. If you've got any thoughts, if you had a good time with Cookies with Santa, let us know. Just comment here. If you enjoyed this video and would like to hear more, click the subscribe button. And I want to encourage you, once you've clicked the subscribe button, click the little bell that'll show up next to it, and that'll let you know anytime I post a video. And then I also want to encourage you, if you enjoyed this video, like it and to share it with other people in your life through Twitter or Facebook or any of those means. Thank you so much for your time with us. And I want to invite you also, come be a part of CrossRoads Church, Sunday mornings, 9:30 and 11 a.m. We also have small groups that meet throughout the week in the form of what we call home groups and house churches. And you can find out more about that in some of our other videos here on our channel. If you've got any questions, send me a note at info@crossroadsfortworth.org. Thank you so much for your time this week. Have a great week. I look forward to seeing you Sunday.